Number 6, review the education cost sharing budget for 18-19. The reason I put that on, there was a lot of confusion as to how the numbers had come to, and I felt we needed to have a presentation to the board so there was no confusion. After the meeting, there was a lot of people who asked what, how, and what it was based on, so that I asked Dawn to make a presentation onto how the number that we had originally was arrived at. Dawn?
In your, every regular Board of Finance meeting, I do give you an update as to all of the education and state funds that we receive. I give you the title of the funds, the budget that was approved for 18, which is what we're currently working in. The state approved 2018, after the budget was approved, there was an amount that was allocated through that budget process. It was also reduced through the OPM's lapses and holdbacks. I did, in front of you, you should have the lapses and holdbacks, which is the report I issued back in November. This just tells you that they have the ability within the budget to reduce or change or hold back funds that they originally say we're going to give to you. Currently, looking at just the top ECS line, the board's approved two budgets, $3.3 million for ECS for 2018. At the time, and I wasn't here at the time, so I'm sure you all remember, no budget was put in place. They were, discussing what the budget was going to be. There was talk that their entire ECS was going to be cut on municipalities or many municipalities, that they were going to redo the calculations. They were going to look at the formula grants. There was a huge discussion as to what was going on, and nobody really knew until they cut a budget and then released it, where anything stood. So I believe the Board of Finance took a very conservative stance at $3.3 million. At the same time, special education was also being discussed, and it was decided at that time, or what was released by the state of Connecticut, by the governor's office, was that there was going to be an increase in special ed money and possibly decrease or no excess cost money. Special ed, education cost sharing, sorry. So you budgeted $1.3 million for special education. Special education typically runs about $300,000. So my report here is to try and give you an idea that a lot of the funds were increased, a lot of the funds were decreased. So you need to look at all of the state funding in order to come up with what you might have in addition to what you budgeted. In 2018, after the budget was approved and the holdbacks and lapses were released, the governor's office said that $5,484,000 would be sent to Clinton for ECS. We have so far received $2,742,000.
Could you repeat that, please?
It's here.
We have so far received
First one.
$2,742,144. In my report, I have an actual versus budget column, which shows you, based on where we budgeted, what we received, and what we still need to receive in order to just make budget. On the ECS line, we need to receive another $602,946 to make budget. Anything above that is more than what was budgeted. In addition to that, if you look down the rest of the grants, you'll see that we still need to receive another $1,000,001 in special ed, 134 more in town aid road, 105 more thousand in local improvements, and 386 in municipal revenue sharing. So all in all, if you look at it, you're still looking at, if we receive all the funds in that we were anticipating, that the state says they're going to give us, you could possibly come out at $478,000 better than budget on just this group of revenues. In looking at the fiscal 19 proposed ECS, the last report issued by the governor's office was that the town of Clinton would receive $5,097,449 in ECS funding. That's the number that we put in the budget as a revenue number for that particular line, based on what the governor had put out, based on good faith that the governor and the OPM office and whatnot would give Clinton what they said that they're going to budget to give us. This other paper that I gave you is the timeline of when all those decisions were made and how the governor's office came down to that $5,097,449. Here it gives you the actual for 17, the adopted for 18, the holdbacks in 18, and then the adopted for 19, and then the governor's adjustment for 19. And that's where you've seen the number kind of go up and down as we've been going through the process, and every time we get another notification out of the state, then we update the numbers because that's the best information we have. Keep in mind, my job is to give you all of the information so that you can make the best decisions possible. Do keep in mind that there is also the ability for the lapses and holdbacks. And until we actually receive the funds in the bank, we're not necessarily going to get the funds. We can only anticipate getting them.
So, Mr. Chairman, my question would be, in the next 12 weeks, there's 12 weeks left in our budget season, we're expecting to get upwards of $2 million from the state of Connecticut in order to make this current year's budget expectations.
No, you need
No, 602,000.
602.
in order to make this year's budgeted amount. Now,
Expected.
to get to where they anticipated giving us that amount, yes, it would be more than that.
2,700,000.
So we could get anywhere between, hopefully, the 600 and 2,700,000.
And the estimate on this coming budget, the 19th, is a short session, so first Wednesday in May, they'll adjourn, and this is the second half of that biennial budget, so it's a lot less difficult than the first budget. They came up to where we were unsure what was going to happen, and it is an election year. Everybody's up, and I think that more than likely you'll see that there'll be less in the way of possible wringing hands and delay up there, and more action that will be achieved sooner rather than later, because they all have to go to conventions and be endorsed and all the other things that go on. So there's a lot of pressure on them to make sure that they get this done, I would say, by the first week in May, and so therefore we'll know.
In the first week of May, the state has effected what is called new legislation called a bond lock. Are you familiar with that?
It has nothing, the bond lock has nothing to do with this here, okay?
What do you mean it has?
Okay,
I'm sorry, I don't know.
True, every time there's another, the first week in May is the end of the session,
That's right.
okay? Until that session is over and acted on, there's technically nothing, okay? Now, the budgets are up there, they're under review, the finance, board is all meeting up there, and, I don't know, you come up, maybe through Dawn, I don't understand what Doug is referring to on his, I know there's a cap And that cap,
There
the cap had to do with transportation fund and all the other things. So I don't know the intricacies of all of that, but I'll tell you that, as far as I know, this is money that's there for all the state, and that it's a separate funds that are going to all these, so they're divided up.
So if I understand you, you're basing your optimism on receiving this money in the next 12 weeks based on elections.
Not in the next 12 weeks, it'll be in the next budget.
Which
We're in the current year.
Yes.
They're in the same calendar year as us.
Right,
So
well-
between now and June 30th, I wouldn't say May 1st, because that's not the end of the year for Connecticut. Connecticut goes through June 30th. And we're anticipating the amounts of money that we're being talked that are due us to be paid. And I would say this, if somehow or another they want to go bankrupt, I think you got bigger problems in the discussions we're talking about here.
It's happened before, but.
Not the state of Connecticut going bankrupt.
I'm talking about both the monies we expect to receive
Yep.
to finish this fiscal year.
Correct.
And the monies we're projecting that we will receive for next year. That was my,
Correct.
the totality of my.
I said that the other night, that I feel that these projections were conservative, that I'm confident in them. We depended on them for an awful long time, and that some kind of a panic that seems, I would ask the other question. Tell me why I should panic.
Well, if you'd like to own
Tell me
an
what-
August,
Well, then we should have,
own an August bill to the taxpayers, go ahead.
well, we'll know what the budget is before we send the tax bill.
Wouldn't you prefer to be the hero and say, you know, we were conservative and there's actually extra money there?
Well, Mr. Chair, can I ask a question? If you could direct this to Joe, because I know at the last meeting, we had actually reduced that state proposal. And there was said that there was not going to be any impact, but if we could direct this question to Dawn, what impact is there by reducing it? How does that affect the taxpayers? So could you explain how that?
Absolutely. What you are accustomed to doing is you're setting an expense budget. You're going through all the budget process and you're saying total expenses that we need to run the town is $54 million or whatever it is. The town needs this, the education system needs this to run the schools. That's your total expense budget. In order to have a balanced budget, your revenues have to match your expenses. Revenues are made up of two different types of revenues. What is called other revenues and then what's called tax levy. Your other revenues are like your fees that you charge, fines that come in, state funds that come in, grants, things like that are given to the town or the town has charged to receive. The difference between this other revenue and the total expenses is what you have to put out for the tax levy. You have to send out a tax bill and say, everybody has to pay this short portion of this amount of revenue to keep the budget balanced. So the ECS and all those funds that are on there are a part of that other revenue. Your total other revenue when going into that meeting totaled up to $7,414,695. Part of that was that $5,097,000 for ECS, and the rest were numerous other, I believe I gave you guys a revenue sheet of other ones. When you made that determination, you dropped that revenue $1,597,000. Every $1,500,000 and change, you change the budget one way or another is a mill. So you basically added a mill to the tax levy by dropping that revenue.
Okay, so to be clear, we tried to be conservative, but what we ended up doing was passing higher taxes onto our citizens. Okay, so we did the opposite of what we.
One bucket or the other.
Okay, I just wanted to be
It's
clear
very
on that.
simple.
Because that was, I wanted to
There's
be
more to it, but it's a
Right.
very simple concept.
Right, because I mean, we understood.
The other thing is we're very conservative about our collection rate. What we do is we have a very high collection rate of taxes. So we've used, pretty conservative estimates for everything that we're doing. And, that's what I think. say, I mean, at some point, I guess you could make an argument for zero.
She said it's funny,
Just said you can make an argument for zero. Like,
but you can make an argument for anything. How about minus 200,000?
what, you could do that too?
Okay, fine.
Okay.
We are the fiscal governors of the town of Clinton,
Right,
correct?
right.
We are supposed to look into the future and say, what's coming down the road and what do we have to expend,
That's what we're doing.
okay? We are looking at about $12 million in bonds going out in the next year. We are looking at the Federal Reserve increasing over the next year and a half by 5 times. They've told us that. We have the state of Connecticut being reduced in their ratings constantly, which is going to affect our bond ratings unless we are very conservative.
Could you refer your comments to the education cost part of this? I understand.
There's no education
I understand
budget
there's
in
greater-
the
I understand there's greater philosophical, and by the way, just so we understand, we have responsibilities. We all have different views on interpretation of those. So if I respect that you can say what you do, you respect that others say what they
The
say.
scout will be closed. I mean,
Any further discussion on the presentation? I think we've had a good presentation. Thank Dawn for that.
Yes.
Anybody, do you have
I'd
any
like to make
further?
a motion, if I may.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to add the $1,597,449 back to the educational cost share budget to bring it back up to the number that it was, the $5,097,449.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion's been made and seconded. Discussion.
I won't even put my name close to that. That is sinful in my
Is
opinion.
there further discussion?
I think we're making a terrible mistake.
Is there,
If we do, in fact, get the money from the state, we can always put the money into a capital reserve fund and use it in the future so we don't have to tax our citizens on certain capital projects.
But we're taxing them now then.
he has the floor.
Well,
It's now or later.
Is there further discussion?
And by the way, later, the interest rates are going up.
For the second time, I'll recognize you. I was looking, now you're recognized for the second time, go ahead.
Are you talking to me? Interest rates are going up. There's no question about it. Okay? They will affect our costs substantially in the future. Next year, with our $12 million issuance, $2 million to cover the bands and other projects we have going out, it's not the end of what we need. We need lots of ability to bond in the future and to keep our rating as good as possible. And to be conservative over a mill seems ridiculous to me.
Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
opposed.
Abstentions? Motion carried.